Welcome to Industry Interviews with Commercial Dance Intensive, Sessions with Sissa. I'm Melissa Strain. I'll be joined shortly by Robert Gosnell. Here he is. Hi,
Hi, how are you?
Robbie. Good. Welcome to Industry Interviews. We're so happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be here virtually.
I know, right? So let's go ahead and get started. Do you
Okay.
want to briefly introduce yourself and give us a bit of your background, maybe a little bit about where you're from, your training, um, your professional career, where you are now? Lots of
Yeah,
exciting things
sure.
going on.
Yes. I'm Robert Gosnell, but everybody knows me as Robbie, or if you're Casey's kids, you know me as Manny. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my track, I started in a small town in Lexington, North Carolina, where I'm originally from, in an after-school program.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Really starting, at that time, I think before that, my parents wanted to get me into something. So I was obsessed with Singing in the Rain. So Gene Kelly was my idol, first and
Mm-hmm.
foremost. And fast forward to when I started taking classes and whatnot. I started in Lexington, and my teachers moved to High Point, North Carolina, where I started when I went there, and I was there for most of my training until I went to North Carolina School of the Arts, now University of North Carolina School of the Arts. Go Pickles. I worked with some of the best that were 1 degree separated from Balanchine, from Martha Graham, from Merce Cunningham, from Lester Horton. So it was a great place for me to be. And the reason why I went down that route was because I I thought I was going to do musical theater. I had a really good voice too. I loved singing and I loved dancing. But then I saw the late great Mel Tomlinson perform at a gala at NCSA, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I was obsessed. I was like, who is this George Balanchine? And so that's why I ended up going to North Carolina School of the Arts. And so I was there for 5 years. I went there my senior of high school through my senior of college with a brief hiatus where I got a job with Hubbard Street trainee program, which was because I'd gotten rid of it, the Hubbard Street second company. So I was there for a brief period in my senior year. Wasn't happy there. It was a personal thing, nothing on them. So I went back to school. Luckily, my dean allowed me to come back. And so I finished out the rest of my senior year. And then I got a job at Atlanta Ballet, where I was there for a season as a fellowship student, which is a trainee program to hopefully feed into the company. And I did not get hired there. So I moved back to North Carolina for literally 2 months to work with my old studio. They hired me as a guest artist. I get a
Mm-hmm.
phone call on my way to dress rehearsal. I'm leaving the house, and I got a phone call from the artistic director of Nashville Ballet, Paul Basterling, and he said, "So we're looking for an apprentice. Are you available?" And I said, "Well, I
They
don't
just called you
know."
out of the blue.
I had auditioned for them, and I had heard that they didn't need me. And so I thought, I'm just gonna move back to North Carolina and see what happens. And luckily, he called me, and I said, "Well, let me check first." I don't know why, because I was young and dumb, and I didn't know what to do. I think through the whole rigmarole, I got a little bit thrown off. But
Mm.
luckily, well, not luckily, but I did take the job, and I was there for 8 seasons. So I got to do some really cool stuff. It was a small company. It still kind of is. It's a little bit bigger. I did, I did the Balanchine works. I did the classicals. I did a lot of contemporary work. I think with my training, I was very versatile, and I got to do a lot of stuff. I got a lot to work on choreographers 101, which is great because that's how my name got out.
Right.
So they would send me out. That's how I got my teaching gigs was, oh, I know somebody that works in Nashville. He's a really good teacher. He's very positive, or he's a great dancer.
Mm.
Um, so I was there until 2007. And then I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just like, so I went to audition for the Rockettes. I was killing that audition. I was giving you everything that you could get. I was doing whatever they asked me to do. And then they lined us up and they said, thank you. So I'm short. I'm 5'7". In the dance world. That's really hard to fit into a place somewhere. So I didn't think my life was over. I just didn't know what I was going to do. And luckily, I got a phone call from Dana Fox, who was a mentor, and she was the director of the preparatory program at UNCSA. And she said, I need a teacher. And I said, okay. So I packed up my stuff, moved to North Carolina, moved in with my sister, and I started working there in 2007 teaching. So again, I was at home, I was teaching, I was actually taking classes to go toward my BFA, so I was being proactive as well, wasn't just teaching. But then I got another job in Atlanta where Casey gave me, she said, my studio's looking for a guest dancer for their Christmas show. Are you available? And I was like, yes, because I still wanted to dance. I didn't want to just jump into teaching. And so I did that, and that's where I met Gia. And so it's just this whole like incestuous, dance world is so incestuous. But that's where I met Gia, and eventually I moved down to Atlanta, and that's where I've been full-time since the fall of 2009. And now I was a resident guest artist for Atlanta Dance Theater, which is a RTA Southeast company. And then I became a resident guest artist with Atlanta Dance Theater and Roswell Dance Theater, and then became the associate director of Atlanta Dance Theater. And now I'm the ballet master at Roswell Dance Theater. So I kept bouncing back and forth, that they work so well together because we're part of the RDA SE family, formerly known as SERBA, for all of those out there who don't know what RDA SE is. And so I've been doing that for, gosh, it's already 11 years, kind of being down here full time. It's so weird. And now I am the Regional Dance America Southeast president. So I just finished up, or I'm in my, the end of my actual first term. So I'm up for re-election here sometime the next week. I don't even know what's happening. So what week we're at and what day it is. So
that's such an honor.
That's it. And I'm working with Commercial Dance Intensive in the summers and on their on location program still. Casey still brings me in, and it's you know, I think you'll get to this later, but I think I want to say that I've been super lucky in my path. I think about it every day, especially now in this time of like doubt and what's happening and where we're going to go from here. It's just been, I've had a lot more time to reflect, because normally I don't have time to reflect on myself. I'm always reflecting on other people. Yes. I mean, you're reflecting on your kids that you teach all the time. Like, you're worried about them. And when you're in the studio, and now I have all this free time, like, what am I supposed to do? So I've allowed myself to reflect on myself, and which I never get to do that much. So that's the short story. I'm not circling the airport, as some people say. Just land it, just go in.
No, it's incredible to hear how your path brought you from where you're from to where you are now. And I just also want to mention that we absolutely love how you are a huge part of the Commercial Dance Intensive. You've been, you know, part of the entire building process, like from the very
day one.
Mean, like, it's
I remember.
Incredible. And now with your relationship and your prestigious position with RTA Southeast, it's so great because we've got so many beautiful young dancers coming from your recommendation and involvement with them. And I know that you guys were supposed to have an event this weekend, and Casey and Cassidy were both going to come out, and it's such a shame that can't happen right now.
Right.
But we're just so grateful for you.
And I think that's, you know, I've always been, I with dance, I didn't know if I were ever going to make it in dance, but I always knew that was me at that point in my younger life. I thought I was going to be an educator at some point, and it's just education. When you look at it, the whole thing, life is education, dance is education, and I think me being part of the commercial dance intensive and seeing when we work together in the summers, I'm like, there's another path for some of these kids who aren't going to be ballerinas, or you see a path for them. Be like, have you ever thought of looking musical theater? Come to the program. Maybe you'll get a taste of it. Maybe you like it. Maybe you hate it. Like, at least you came for 2 weeks and you were immersed in something that made you check on yourself to see, oh, there is another path for me besides being a classical dancer. And because there was nothing like that when I was growing up. It was either you were ballet or you were modern. There were no musical theater, because I probably would have gone to that instead of because I'm a performer. Like, I love performing. I'm a ham when I'm on stage. And yeah, no. Yeah. So, but it is what I think dipping into or working with CDI has made that dream of possibly being a Broadway star. No, that's not going to happen, but I'm getting to work with people who are in the industry of Broadway. So I'm learning, and I try to use that as I'm teaching. So I think that's a unique thing about CDI, because you're getting it from all angles and not just so in the box. So
I have to say that one of my favorite, before we started bringing in artists to work with the kids in the first couple of years, my favorite Robert Gosnell dance cameo was when you were our artist for our on-camera.
Oh, yes. Because why not?
It was my favorite. It was so good. Okay, so let me get back on topic here. Official industry interview question number 1.
Okay.
You touched on a couple of your first job experiences. I would love to know how did you book your first job, or one in particular that you want to talk about, and maybe how you felt when you found out that you booked it.
Okay, so booking the Hubbard Street job was probably a really cool thing when you hear it, like, oh my gosh, you got a job with Hubbard Street. Even though it was a trainee program, Hubbard Street is like one of the most prestigious dance companies in the world. They had a 52-week contract. No dance company had a 52-week contract. But to be considered, oh my gosh, that audition process, I thought I had been put through the ringer like 12 times. So you go in with it's invited. There was a set group, and it was at NCSA, so it was handpicked by Warren Conover, who was their ballet master for years. And so we're in there, and we do a ballet class with Julie Nakagawa. Julie's there, who was the director of the Hubbard Street Training Program, and Lou Conti, the founding director of Hubbard Street. And at that time, he was still artistic director. So it's the three of them in there, and you're in there with these kids and taking full ballet class. He believed that technique is what was the sole purpose of being a good dancer. And I'll never forget it. You take a full ballet class, and then he cut. He let us get through the full ballet class. Normally they don't do that because it was such a small group. He let us stay through the ballet class, and then he made the cut. Then we started learning some rep. Well, I'm a quick learner, and I can learn really quick. And but I guess I was not as good with details because I just wanted to just let me do it. I wasn't patient with the details. So we learned some rep, and he made a cut from there. We learned some more rep, made a cut from there, and it was down to 5 of us. So then we learned the signature piece at the time for Hubbard Street, which was it was called the 40s. And it's a little bit of swing dancing. It's got that swing feel to it, and there was a certain jive that you had to have to it. I mean, he was like yelling at me. My pinky was wrong. I'd never had that before. Like, you should be holding, there was a certain way you were supposed to hold your hands. And it was almost, I guess I could equate it to if you were taking like a Fosse, like a real Fosse masterclass. It was that detailed. And I have never cried in an audition, but tears were streaming down my face. Like, not like to the point where I was Googling, but you just saw it. I was like, I am not getting this job. I'm not getting it. So lo and behold, probably a week later, the way they do it at schools, they put signs and it said Robert, and I can't remember who else was in that, who stayed with me. I know Brian David Carter was in there with me, but there were a couple others. Said come down to my office, to Warren's office, and he's like, "You got the job." And I said, "Excuse me?" He beat me up. Like, he literally took the baseball bat and was like, but so that was my first job, and I went, and at the time, at that time, I think all my friends had left. I'm very much I like a comfort zone, and I think that's probably a downfall of mine, but I like my surroundings to be consistent, and a lot of my friends had left the school, so I was like, where is everybody? And I think I thought that was my time to leave. And it actually wasn't. I wasn't ready. Like, mentally, I wasn't ready. And I wasn't, at that time, they didn't really have a rep, and they didn't really know where the trainee program was going. And I just said, this is not the place for me. So that's when we went back to school, and it was great. Like, I had the experience, and I'll cherish it forever, the short time I was there, but it put me on a more mental path about what I need in my life. And I don't think I ever really thought about that until, later on, be like, there was a reason why I went there, and there's a reason why I'm where I'm at now. So, but yeah.
I think that's fascinating, because so often as a young dancer, you feel inclined to do what everyone thinks that you should do, right? Your mentors and your teachers, they're there to guide you, of course, but
right.
As a dancer, sometimes it takes that first or second experience where you're like, I thought this is what I wanted, or that this would be right for me, but it's actually not. And then you turn, like you're saying, you turn the coin and you say, oh, I'm in control of what I choose to do with my path and my career. And that kind of ownership, I think, is awesome.
And I think, too, being at the school, like, I love the school. There's no diss about the school. I love it. It was a great place. Some people love it and some people hate it. I loved it. I had a great time. I still have a great rapport. I go back and teach every year. I think the stigma of the school was, and a lot of my friends were getting into the big companies. And Harbor Street was a big company. But that doesn't mean necessarily it was right for you. So luckily, I ended up in Nashville, which was awesome experience for me. It was small, and I got to dance all the time. I mean, I was doing some reps. I was doing 3 pieces, and you're just go, and then you're rehearsing 8 other pieces along with those 3 pieces that you're like. I was always dancing. I got to travel with it. It was great, and I'm still grateful to this day of it, because it's made me the artist who I am. Is those experiences in Nashville. It really was the where I found myself as an artist, and I just keep building on that. So
I think that's incredible. Okay,
yeah.
So my next question for you, Robbie, what is something in your career that has surprised you, either personally or about the industry?
I think being in the position that I'm in. Like, I never thought I would be board president of a dance organization. If you had told me that, I mean, younger Robbie, never. I mean, just it's hard for me to hold my tongue. So younger Robbie was just worse. He would just speak there was no filter. And I think maybe that's something that develops over time, or I had to develop over time, is how to approach a situation without just being like so curt about it. And I think with going through what we've gone through during this time and the canceling of the festival, I didn't know I had the mental space and the skills to kind of lead an organization through it. So, having to sit down with, now 14 member companies of the Southeast, and have to break the news to them that this is not happening. We just can't have it happen. And then you have to think about the dancers, like they look forward to this, that are part of this organization. They look forward to this. And the seniors, this is their last year to go, and they can't go. And so I think this position has really opened my eyes to there's even more possibilities. Where could this lead next? And I'm just going to like kind of ride the wave for a little bit and see where it goes. Probably I think I would like to stay in this position for 2 more years because I'm just getting my feet wet in it, and then see what happens after that. So I have, the board's been great to work with. They really have taught me that I am a leader, because sometimes I just tend to defer. I like being the assistant. I don't like making the hard decisions. And I think you know that from working in Casey on the end that you're working on, and me have worked with been an assistant on several projects as well. I thought that's where my place was. And I think being in this position, I've learned a lot about, I can do this, or I wonder if we did it this way, or just bringing new ideas, and which is hard sometimes because I'm the first male president of RTA Southeast, formerly known as SERBA. So I broke that glass ceiling. But I hope, I don't know if any of the board members are on this, they might be, but I am one of the youngest. So that's sometimes hard to have some mentors or people that you've known since you were a kid growing up through the region to push those ideas. So, but they've been very supportive, and I want to say, with working with Casey, yes, I've pulled out the ideas, because I think that's what you need to do to make the whole industry grow in the world of dance, so it doesn't get lost, is to build on the ideas that are already out there, or use the ideas to help build some people up, or organizations up, or dance companies up, or dancers up. I think it's passing the torch. This whole thing's passing the torch. And I've always said that. So yeah, I think now. So that would be
beautiful. I mean, the whole point of what we do at Commercial Dance Intensive is our efforts are to elevate the industry by educating the next generation. And that doesn't stop just with our dancers. The partnership that we have through you with RTA Southeast and through different organizations is just more of a platform. And what you were talking about before reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, and it's pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah,
absolutely. Unique situations cause us to look inside and find things that within ourselves that we didn't know existed necessarily.
Well, and that's the funny part, is like when I first joined the board, I was just kind of like there, and because I did have ideas, and I was young, and they wanted another male on the board, and I did give a lot of my time before I joined the board. Mm-hmm. And I remember my boss, Nancy, she said, they're grooming you to take over, or to eventually be president. I was like, no, they're not. Why would they ask me to be president? Like, I said, I am so outspoken. And they're like, yeah, but you're outspoken in a good way. You're just not like in there being Debbie Downer outspoken, but you push us. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then it happened. And I remember I texted my mom. I was like, I think I'm gonna be the next president. And she goes, what? Because my mom was a lobbyist. So this whole thing is like, she never thought I would want to go down this, or be in where I'm at now. That, I do have to attribute her, because she's a good sounding board as to how to be more diplomatic, which is very hard for me sometimes. So
great job, Rob. So our next industry interview question is, what is one style or skill you wish that you had trained in before you became a professional?
Acting. I think being in a ballet company, and it might be also musical theater and probably in movies, you get pigeonholed a little bit. So I always got pigeonholed as so anytime when we did Swan Lake, when we did Cinderella, I was always a jester. So I always played the mischievous roles. And if there was a role for a young kid or boy or whatnot in the ballet, I played that role. So it was hard for me to be quote unquote masculine because I just thought that's where I was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But with acting, because I did a few plays when I was growing up, and it was hard for me to memorize lines. I cannot memorize lines to save my life. I can pick up a song because there's music to it, and I think that's just because that's innately as a dancer you're musical, so you're able to pick up the words with the musicality. But I cannot, like, anytime I had to like have lines, I would freak out. Like my anxiety kicked in. I was like, oh my gosh, I just freeze. So I think if acting would have been great, and I wish I would have kept up my voice lessons. I really did have a good voice. It's gone. I don't know where it is. I used to sing at all the talent shows. You've heard the stories. Even when I danced in my long sleeve turquoise unitard in 5th grade. But I sang in every talent show. I was in chorus up through high school until I went to North Carolina School of the Arts, and it was just like dance. It was like blinders on. So I would say acting and singing would be the ones that I wish I would have kept up the most.
I bet that voice is still in there somewhere.
Sure, we'll go with that one.
Okay, so this brings me to our next question, Robbie.
Okay.
Besides taking acting and voice,
Mm-hmm.
if you could go back in time and give advice to your 15-year-old self, what would you tell yourself and why?
Listen more, because I was not a good listener. I'm a really good listener when people have problems. I was not a good listener in the studio because I thought I knew it all, or I thought that, and I think it was the fact that I picked up really quick, so I didn't have patience for the other people. I'm like, why are you not getting this? So I would tend to like veer in and out as far as listening and paying attention. The other thing that I put is don't hesitate to ask questions. I was always afraid to ask the question. I would wait for somebody else to ask the question. So anytime you're in class, that's why you've heard me in class, I always ask, are there any questions? Because I want that door to be open. I don't want people to be fearful to ask the question. So that's always been, and I still have problems with that on this side of like, as far as being like on the board, sometimes I'm afraid to ask the question, but I'm slowly getting over that. What was the other thing that I put? Okay, so don't fall into the negativity of the dance world. There's always going to be people that tell you no. You're going to hear more no's than you're going to hear yes. I have heard it all, and that's just part of it. And it's hard to guide yourself through that. And I felt the best way for me to have that was to have friends that were non-dancers. Because they were the ones that were really my crutch if I were going through something. And I would be like, oh, so you have problems too in your job? Okay. So it made me realize that it wasn't just me. And they made me open my eyes to other things in the world, like the bigger problems in the world, not just, in your field. And then I think the last one would be, I put, you are in control of this thing called life, because you are in control. And that's hard because I think we tend to, or I did, I'm a mama's boy. And I just thought that mom knew it. I mean, she does, she knows a lot. But, I think at some point you have to learn that even your parents are going to disagree with you at some point on what you do in life.
Yes.
But ultimately they are there to support you. They're going to support you mentally and emotionally because they are the ones that more 90% of the time that you're going to call when you're feeling down or if something awesome happens or whatnot. So you are definitely in control. You just might have to reflect a little bit more and make that phone call to your mom and be like, am I making the right move? Or can I just bounce off some ideas or whatnot? So that would be it. And just love the people that support you, and they are there for you. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone. I think even more during this time, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and make a phone call. Because we are right now in this unique situation that we're in. I shouldn't say unique, I should say uncertain situation that we're in. Phone calls have been a savior to me.
Mm.
Zoom calls have been a savior to me, text messaging, whatnot. I think communication is key to everything. And so that's it. Those are my,
I love that.
yeah.
I'm going to spring a new question on you, Robbie.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll try to answer.
Following up with what we just talked about,
Yes.
do you have any advice for young dancers at this time that we're in?
I say allow yourself to feel those feelings, whatever those feelings are. Like, I think, you know, my students who I'm teaching right now, I always sit down with them at the end of the class. I'm like, I just want to check in. And, you know, some of them are like, oh, we're doing great. Everything's going great. And you have one that's like, I'm really sad. This was supposed to happen this week. And I was like, great. You need to vocalize that. But I think the one thing that I did tell the kids is, I said, artists, this is their time to shine, because we can emote our feelings, whether it be through song, whether it be through dance, whether it be through a painting, whether it be writing poetry. We have something that other people don't have, and that is a voice. But you know, I sent the new song by Kelly Clarkson, "I Dare You." I love you, Kelly. I don't know if you're on, but anyway, there's a verse in there that says, you don't have a stage, but you still have a voice. You don't need a stage. You don't need the stage. You have a voice in your bedroom. Explore that. Learn to choreograph a solo, or just put on a song and just dance out your frustrations. It's okay. It's okay to have the feelings that you're feeling at this time, because we all have our feelings. And I try to tell my kids that anyway when I'm teaching is, when you need to talk to somebody through the highs and the lows, because that's the only way that you really get through. If you keep everything so internalized, that's when things get bad. So I'm there for my kids all the time. They have my email address. Some of them might have my cell phone. I don't give that out, but they know how to get in touch with me. So I'd say at this time, express yourself. This is the time to do it.
I love that. I think that's great. Yeah. So we're down to our final question of the industry.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So this comes from Casey's favorite podcast, How I Built This.
Yes.
Ready?
Okay.
For your success, what percent is based in luck, and what percent, in your opinion, is based in talent and skill?
It was, for me, I would say more luck. So I would say probably about, we'll give it a 70% luck, 30% skill. I always had the skills. I was a technical dancer. It was easy to mold me, because that's just the way that I was smart and all that stuff. But again, it goes back to what I said earlier, me being short. That was my biggest, that was like the biggest thing, because I was, you're too short, you're too short, you're too short, you're too short. And when you hear that over and over again, you're like, well, first of all, I can't help that. This is the way that I'm built. So, you know, it goes back to when I got luckily, you know, at the time at School of the Arts, Warren brought in Hubbard Street. So that was a luck. I didn't have to go to Chicago. I didn't have to be in a cattle call of 600 people, because their cattle calls are huge. And then getting the lucky phone call from Paul from Nashville for that job. And then after, you know, I didn't know what I was going to do, I got the phone call from Dana. So everything, you know, and then Casey giving me the phone call. And so I would say 70% luck, 30% skill, because you have to have the skills to do the job, and you have to have, and I preach this at Commercial Dance Intensive, you have to have the technique to survive in this job, because it really is the base of your instrument. Your body is your instrument. So take the ballet classes. It might not be your favorite. Take the technical jazz classes. It might not be your favorite, but it will allow you to prolong your career. It will make you more employable, that's for sure. And then you'll be able to translate different styles on top of the technique. So that's my technique speech. And that's why I'm still putting on the white tights once a year. So this year they were gray. So yeah. we're transitioning colors. I think that's maybe the spectrum of my dance career. We're now onto gray.
I love that.
I'm still working towards the black. So
I think you have some time. You have some time. I just want to thank you so much for being here and for being such an important part of the Commercial Dance Intensive family, our Army of Love. You're such a superstar, and I love you. And thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you, and thank you for doing this. I think it's relevant in this time that when you need another outlet, or you need to hear another voice, or you just need to hear something different than what you're hearing on your Zoom calls or whatnot, you can go and click on something and hear it. What's unique about CDI is there's so many voices, but ultimately we're all saying the same thing. You just have to do it. In the Nike terms, you just have to do it. You don't know what's going to happen. Just do it. You might surprise yourself.
You rise to the occasion.
Right? Yep. So, my name is Robert Gosnell. Are you ready to work? Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Robbie.
Have a good day, everybody.